Hello students, in this class I am going to talk about lakes and their classification. In earlier classes we discussed about marine water ecosystem, we discussed about freshwater ecosystem, and here we are going to discuss about lakes. In case of marine water, we discussed about the water which is mainly addressing the ocean and sea, etc. When we talk about freshwater, we covered all the freshwater, that is the few percentage that I told you in the earlier class. This small volume of freshwater we discussed. Within this volume, we have a number of different smaller aquatic bodies. Lake is one of them. And interestingly, this lake ecosystem is covering the main saline water as well as freshwater bodies. So today in this class we are going to discuss about the lakes and their classification. So here we will find the different classifications. We will know what is a lake and what are different its features. We will also know the different classifications by each origin. So where from the lakes originate, depending on that we will classify. And also we will try to understand the different types of lakes by going through its nature. So here two different aspects we will discuss regarding the types of lakes. One is by origin and second is by its nature. So let us now have a look on the definition of lake. If you go by the simplest definition, it is nothing but a water body, a slow flowing water body. You can see here the slow flowing water body, a slow flowing water body which occupies a land depression. Means there is a land depression and a slow flowing water body is there. You may have a question that it means pond may also come under lake. Obviously your question is right, but if we go the further elaboration of this kind of water body, you will understand that a lake is having a considerable size. It has a localized basin, and again it is surrounded by a land apart from a river. There may be a river which is coming and coming as an inlet to the lake, or there may be a river which is going as an outlet from the lake. Apart from this, it is surrounded by a number of land masses. So these are the features which you won't find in case of pond. Pond, there is no source, means there is no inlet from the river. There is no outlet as a river. So this is the difference between the lake and pond, basic difference between lake and pond. So although the definition is very simple, but you need to add this second part. The second part you need to add to understand the lake is different from a pond. So now you are clear, I think, the lake and the pond, how these two aquatic bodies are different. Let us think a little bit, let us know a little bit more about the lake. Here you can find that, 1 minute. Here you can find that the lakes are surrounded by land that already we have discussed. And it is not a part of the ocean. Keeping in your mind that lake is not a part of the ocean. We will get later on lagoon, which is a format of lake, which may be a part of the ocean, but this we'll discuss as a as a lagoon, as a part of a kind of a water body which is not a pond or bigger than a pond, and you can find equivalent to lake. And the second part, as you know, that we have discussed many times, that is, these are larger and deeper than ponds. And by origin, when we will discuss the origin of the lakes, we will understand that most lakes are found in the mountainous region because of their nature of origin. Although you'll find a number of lakes are there across different landscapes in the world, but most of the lakes you'll find in the mountainous areas and the rift zones, and also in the areas with ongoing glaciation. Ongoing glaciation means mainly the North Pole areas, South Pole areas. So these are the areas where the glaciation takes place, Himalayan areas. So there you'll find lakes are the common feature. And remember, as we discussed in the previous slide, one thing is very common in case of lake. There is one inflow and there is one outflow. Here you can see this picture. This is one inflow and this is one outflow. So the water body is there, and this is regulated by the inflow and outflow by two different streams or rivers. An inflow may be a river, and outflow may be a river or streams. Many times what happens, the outflow is off. It is not there in case of lakes. In that case, the water is regulated by evaporation. Those lakes are known as endorheic lakes. So in case of endorheic lakes, the inlet is there, but there is no outlet. And majority of lakes are freshwater lakes, and they lie in the northern hemisphere at high altitude. So there you can find, when you talk about the freshwaters, it is mainly the glacier region or the lakes formed by the glaciations. Although you'll find a number of lakes there in the plain region also, which are freshwater lakes. However, the most of the lakes you'll find in Canada, Finland, Siberia, etc. in these areas. So these are some common features of the lakes we have discussed in the world, and know that these common features, the simplest features, although in the next few classes we will discuss in detail regarding the different other characteristics of lakes depending on the weather or in kind of seasonal changes. Whatever, in the simplest way, we can say the lakes which are there, they have an outflow, they have an inflow. Sometimes outflow is absent, which is known as endorheic lake. And the origin is mainly in the mountainous region, rift village, or the glaciations where it is there. And most of the freshwater lakes are freshwater lakes. There are few, obviously, salinity lakes also exist. Now coming to the classification of lakes, there are two ways, as we have come to know here, that there is important part origin of the lakes, and there is another part nature of the lakes. On the basis of these two features, we can classify them lakes by its origin and lakes by the nature of water. So let us see what is by origin. There are three different ways by which we can classify lakes by origin. One is the earth movement, second is the glaciation, and third is the volcanic activity. Every kind of this origin we are going to discuss in the next few slides. Not only that, these three kinds, we have some other ways of formation of lakes. Although these are very rare, you'll find, but erosion and deposition are two kinds which also contribute to the formation of lakes. Formation means the expansion of lakes, the completion of the formation of lakes. The root formation may be the earth movement, the glaciation, or volcanic activity, but their expansion or the completion is done by the erosion and deposition. So that is why these are also some causes of the formation of lakes. Whatever, we will discuss mainly these three issues: movement, glaciation, and volcanic activity. So let us start from the Earth's movement. Here you can see there are two images. The image is one, you can here see the lakes of tectonic origin, and images two, you can find rift valley lakes. In true sense, both these activities or origins are the tectonic origins. You know, the tectonic lakes, we're talking about the gravens, also the tectonic origin, and here rift valleys also talking about also a kind of tectonic origin. In case of gravens, you'll find there, now gravens means a small groove that is formed, a ditch or groove that is formed between two regions of a plate. So here you can see these regions. This is one that upward moving, and this is downward moving. So this small ditch is formed, and these two parts which are on the both side of the graben are known as horsts. Many times this happens that these gravens are formed in a very smaller format. This is a graben, this is a horst, and a number of gravens may also form. Number of gravens is formed. This is a horst. So these gravens sometimes fuse to form a bigger lake. Whereas here you can see the lake which is formed due to a rift valley in a platotectonic movements. The tectonic plates slide on each other, and when it slides on each other, the rifts are formed, or many times there is collision and the rifts are formed, and these rifts may turn to a lake. So there is a difference. There is a breaking or there is a crack in the tectonic plates, and a small graben is formed, which later may unite with other gravens to form a bigger lake. And here, in case of rift valley, a rift is formed between the joints of the tectonic plates, which is later forming the rift valleys or rift lakes. So this is how it goes on. Difference between the rift and the rift graben lakes. And overall, these two, both the origins are same, the tectonic origin. Now you can see this is an example where you find a Caspian lake. Caspian lake is there. As you know, the Caspian lake, it is one of the biggest lake in the world, and this lake is a saline lake by nature. And one of the very interesting feature of this lake is that, you can see there is an inlet. There is an inlet in this lake. You can see the inlet is there. So this inlet is there. There is no outlet. It means this is a rheoteric lake. So Caspian lake is a rheoteric lake, and this is a kind of a tectonic lake which is formed by the reefs of the tectonic plates. In a similar way, Lake Baikal also is a kind of a tectonic lake, and it is one of the deepest and oldest freshwater lakes in the world that is situated in Siberia. And this lake, you will be surprised to know that this lake, it accommodates 1/5 of the freshwater body in the world. So such a very deep and large lake, can understand. So this is a Lake Baikal also, tectonic lake, and this origin, it is a kind of rift lake. And here you can find another lake which is India. Just I mentioned it is in terms of with reference to India. India, you don't find a number of biggest lakes, but Uller Lake is a kind of a lake which is formed in a very depression surrounded by the mountains. And the origin is obviously some kind of tectonic activities, or you can say graben-like activities. The origin is not very clear, but even though this kind of, when it is surrounded by mountains, definitely there is some kind of a tectonic activities are there. So the Uller Lake in Jammu and Kashmir in India is a kind of a tectonic lake. Dead Sea is also a kind of a tectonic lake, and you'll find very interesting to know that this is a kind of a saline lake. And here, if you go by these terms, these keywords in Google, you'll search in Google that amazing facts about the Dead Sea to know why it is dead. You'll find some amazing facts and why it is Dead Sea. Salinity level is so high that you can float on this Dead Sea. Whatever the origin is also similar, that it is a kind of a tectonic lake. So the lakes are there which are by origin tectonic in nature. So these are either maybe graben lake or maybe reef lake. These are the lakes which are from the tectonic activities or movement of the earth's tectonic plates. Coming to down, the another type of lakes is volcanic and glaciation activities. The origin of these lakes are the volcanic activities or the glaciation activities. Here you can see the nature of the volcanic lake. This is the mouth of a volcano. You know that volcano after its death, it is known as start of volcano. Start of volcano. There you can find a mouth which is known as caldera. It is inactive mouth known as caldera. There the water accumulates. Once the water accumulates, it becomes a volcanic lake. So condition is very simple. There was a volcano and this volcano is now cut off or shut down, and this caldera of this volcano, now the water is accumulated here in the caldera. So now it turned to a kind of a volcanic lake. Similarly, in the glaciation lake, this is another picture you can find, a glaciation lake. There you can see this red surrounded red mark area where the glaciers are there all around. You can say all around the glaciers are there, but this particular area the water is melted, or the ice melted to water. So this is a kind of a lake this form in the glacier regions. And this is a continuous activity that the lakes are formed, then again converted to ice in winter. Summer again it is melted, and you know that there is a specific classification based on this nature of the formation of ice and melting of ice, and in between the different diversity also changes. We will discuss all these things next few classes. So glaciation, here the formation of lake is a continuous process, and these are known as glacial lakes. So this, in a very brief, you know that glaciation and volcanic lakes. Now let us see how it forms from these two diagrams. You can see here volcanic lakes. There this is the volcano which is formed, and after it shut down, this is the caldera, and this is the water body which was there, and it filled up the vacuum that is created by the volcano that is now a caldera. It is now a volcanic lake. Examples you can find crater lakes, heaven lakes, Lake Toba, and a number of examples there. Here you can find the glacial lakes. Here you can see the moraine is a kind of a dead ice. A dead ice, and this ice, you can sometimes find this ice was spread up to this region. Now it is reduced. You can say it is reduced to this, constricted to this area only. So here, this is the landmass, and landmass you can find some dead ice left out. Sometimes some active ice also left out, which turn later to dead ice. So these dead ice during the course of time, they melt and convert to water. So this conversion of water helps in the formation of lakes. These are now known as glacial lakes. Remember, they are still in a very the polar regions or nearby polar regions, and during the winter it may be possible that they turn to ice again. So this is a phenomena in this kind of glacial lakes where the ice formation may take place and the water formation may take place. So the conversion of what format may be possible. So these are the features. This is the one of the most common feature of the glacial lakes. You can find the examples here: the Tasman lakes, Walensky lakes, Argentino glacial lakes, etc., etc. So glacial lakes are there in a number of areas in the world. So now coming down to another type of very interesting lake, that is the Oxbow lake. Oxbow lake is a kind of a lake that is formed by the river stretches. You know, when a river runs for a longer distance and there are a number of turns in the rivers, some of the turn, in some cases, it helps in the formation of Oxbow lake. Another type of lake that I discussed, that I told you, mentioned in the previous and earlier one slide, that lagoons. Although this is not a pure format of lake, but still, you know, it is surrounded by lanes on the at least on the 3.5 sides, and in most cases, it's completely surrounded by the land masses. So lagoons, another kind of format of lake. We are going to discuss in detail about these two formats. Here in the first case, the Oxbow lake. You can see the Oxbow lake. This is the Oxbow lake here. You can see the formation. This is the course of the river. You can see the course of the river. Very turns are very huge. Very interesting turns are there. And these turns, when during, you know, in case of these turns, there is a very interesting activity of water. When water flows from this direction, it is very it comes with a force, torrential water, and hits this bank of the river, and as a result, this bank is progressed to some extent. Whereas at this end, at this opposite end, this part, the water flow is slower, and this slow water flow helps in the deposition of silt in this area. So as a result, here it progresses, and this part it regresses. So the one side it is progressing, and other opposite bank it is regressing. Same thing happens in the other end also. See here, it is a progressing part and this is a regressing part, and this activity goes on for a longer time, and slowly you'll find that this river takes a direct course without the turn, and the siltation takes place here, and it makes a blockade in that particular area, and finally it becomes this kind of a hooves like structure that is known as Oxbow lake. So Oxbow lake is formed by the turns of the rivers which travels longer distance, and these turns slowly delinked from the main course of the river, forming a U-like structure or hoof of the ox-like structure that is known as Oxbow lake. And as you know, the Mississippi River is one of the longest river, and there are every chance is there you may find number of Oxbow lakes may exist. And similar case you can find in case of Missouri River also. So this is a very common phenomenon in case of rivers, which also contribute to the formation of these lakes. These lakes are not deeper in by nature, but they have, since they have delinked, they are delinked from the river, they are very fertile, and number of rich diversity you'll find in those lakes. So coming to these lagoons, here once we go to explain lagoons, let me explain to you that there are two areas. This is a continuous water body, and here is a small rift grown in this area, and this small rift has created a kind of a barrier. You can see this is a barrier, and finally the barrier becomes so evident, so clear, that it will completely separate the lake from the rest of the areas. You can find here, now this is this is what you can find, that in these areas you can find, see here, This is the area, the barrier, which is formed separating this small water body from the rest of the bigger water body. So this is a kind of lake. Now it is surrounded by land. This is land part, this is land part. So the surrounded by land part water body. So it is a lake. By definition, you can say lake, and it is very deep also. And mostly the coastal areas are, these lagoons are very common in the coastal areas, and there are a number of barriers, and you can by reefs. Also, you'll find barrier islands. You'll find barrier peninsula. You'll find these all kind of barriers helped the formation of the lagoons. Here, one example you can see here, the very clear example you'll find. This is very clear example. This is small barrier you can find that is separating this bigger island from this smaller water body compared to this bigger water body. So this is how the lagoons are formed, and that is why lagoons, although not very well defined as a lake, but still they maintain that they have some features of the lake, and also the classified under the lake. So this, after this whole classification, let us think about the main area, that lakes can also be classified in terms of the availability of nutrients. So how we can classify lakes in terms of the availability of nutrients? There are three major types of lakes we can classify on the basis of the availability of nutrients. First one is you can see here in the screen, that is eutrophic lakes, oligotrophic lakes, and mesotrophic lakes. So eutrophic lakes means these are well-nourished lakes, and they are by nature shallow water body, and the visibility is very poor. And another kind of is an oligotrophic lake, which is poorly nourished and very deep. And there is third type of lake, which is in between these two. That means eutrophic and oligotrophic lakes. So by nature, you can easily understand that when you talk about mesotrophic, meso means middle, medium. So these lakes are having moderate level of nutrients compared to oligotrophic and eutrophic lakes, and their depth also moderate. In the next slide, we'll see how they are different in case of in terms of the nutrients as well as in terms of depth. See here in these three images, the first one is a eutrophic lake. In the shallow water body, you can see this is shallow water body, and the vegetation is very clear here, and the depth you can see very small depth. Here in case of oligotrophic lake, see the depth is very deep, very high, and there is no aquatic vegetations on the banks of the lake. But mesotrophic lake, you see there is a moderate number of vegetations, and depth also very moderate. This is the huge depth in case of oligotrophic lake, very shallow depth in case of eutrophic lakes, and this depth is moderate compared to the oligotrophic and eutrophic lake. And depending on this, the aquatic habitat organisms also may be different, because when this shallow water body, the light penetration is very clear. It is a kind of a photic zone. When it is very deep, you may find a aphotic zone, and when it is mesotrophic, you may find a photic zones. And now aphotic zones, although it is there, but the temperature is not as like as the aphotic zone is oligotrophic lakes. So there is a difference of temperature in case of mesotrophic lakes compared to oligotrophic lakes. So by this, we can easily classify that there were difference between three different formats of lakes depending on the eutrophic and oligotrophic nature. So in the last slides, I would like to give you a view, give you a view on the lakes based on the nutrients, on the basis of the classification proposed by Hackenson and Johnson 1983. They have given a very wide and very simplistic classification. You can see here in this graph there are two axes. One is the autotrophy and second is the allotrophy. Autotrophy means that leg itself, the nutrients bearing capacity by the leg itself, and allotrophy means that nutrients is supplied from the outside. So this autotrophic and allotrophic nature, it helps in differentiating legs by four different ways. When both these rates are very small, low, that is known as oligotrophic leg. And when it is medium, it is a mesotrophic leg, that you understand now very clearly, mesotrophic leg. And these rates are very high in case of eutrophic and in case of eutrophic legs. Means the allotrophic and autotrophic, these two conditions are balanced and high in case of eutrophic legs. If the autotrophy is overtaken by allotrophic situation, it becomes eutrophication. That may lead to hypereutrophy, and this hypereutrophic condition is also known as dystrophic condition. So that is a very detrimental part of the leg. So there you can find four different classes of leg. One is that oligotrophic, based on the low autotrophic and allotrophic condition. Second is the mesotrophic, which is medium autotrophic and allotrophic conditions. Third is eutrophic, which is high autotrophic and allotrophic conditions. And for this detrimental part means everything is over the limit, dystrophic conditions. So this is what we need to know about legs on the basis of the nutrients. So overall, we have learned three very important things in this class. That is that legs are very slow flowing body of open water that occupies a land depression. And you know that from there also we can classify them, we can differentiate them from the ponds depending on some other features which we have already discussed. And legs can be divided into 5 types by origin. Not only that, we can divide them into different classes, at least 3 classes, by means of their nutrient availability. So these are very, very preliminary and introductory knowledge we need to know about the legs. In the next class, we will learn how to classify them on the basis of the temperature, zonation on the basis of the temperature. So till then, thank you very much.